Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jake Kerr and this is a Black Ink podcast. Today I was joined by a very interesting guest, Mr. Ben Andrew, who is of course a Bunbury City Councilman. We had a very interesting conversation and we touched on many different points and I'm really excited for you to listen to it. But before we get there, I just want to make special mention of today's podcast sponsors. These guys are all local crew and they're all people that I've done business with in the past and that I very much so trust and would encourage you to do business with if you're interested in their field of expertise or what they offer. So I'm going to start from wherever I start from. This is in any particular order. First, I would like to make mention of Owi's Garden and Nursery. Sorry, Owi's Garden Nursery is their name. Now, Owi's Garden actually had a install within my event at my recent spring-winter collection launch, which was, of course, on the waterfront there at 31, I forget the address. If you were there, you would have seen the plants. They had an awesome setup. They had terrariums, cacti, all different sorts of indoor plants. Anyway, more to the point, you love Owi's Garden Nursery. It's not just a regular garden center, it's a family business that started from a genuine passion for plants. The owners poured their heart and soul into creating a place where people can find amazing plants, great ideas, and get expert advice, all while wandering within a paradise within a city. And guess what? They also offer landscaping services to help you create your dream outdoor space, or they can even help with indoor installs too. With their expertise and dedication, you can trust that they'll bring your vision to life. And don't forget, they're open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. from Thursday to Sunday. So swing by whenever you can and let the friendly staff guide you through the amazing selection of plants. Can't wait to hear about your gardening adventures at Owi's Garden Nursery, and you can catch them at 36 Moorland Avenue in Glen, which is just around the back from the farmers market. Rightio, next up we have BRL Maintenance. Now, Brant, who is the face behind BRL Maintenance, is a bloke and a half. This man has the handyman services that you need. I first did business with Brant when he got uniforms off me not so long ago, and him and I have been doing business backwards and forwards ever since. I trust Brant. I love the work that he does. I'm going to read out this little bio that he's got for me right here. So Brant specializes primarily in replacing and hanging damaged doors, patching and repairing damaged walls and ceilings, paint works, small, medium and large jobs, and some small tiling work as well. He's looking for customers that don't have time to keep up with the general maintenance around their home. And this is the thing. To kind of break down what Brant does into a small amount of words is actually quite hard. He's a handyman. He basically solves problems. So what you want to do, if you have anything around the home that's a little bit outside of your field of expertise, or perhaps it's just you don't have the time to get to it, you need someone professional to come in and get the job done for you, Brant is your man of BRL Maintenance. Now, you can contact him via his Facebook page, which is BRL Maintenance. You'll catch a link in the description, or you can call Brant directly on 0480 331 392. So get a hold of Brant, tell him that Jake from Black Ink Podcast sent you, and he'll be more than helpful, more than excited to take on your job and to solve your problem for you. And last but not least, we have Dylan from DG Air Southwest. Now, Dylan and I actually went to school together years and years ago. Dill has been in the industry for over 11 years, but has only recently started up his own service-based, air conditioning service-based business. Now, Dill is hungry for the work. He's an expert in the field and he's just a top bloke. I really appreciate Dill. Whenever I've got work done by Dill, he's always been on time, done the job, and been a through and through great person to deal with. From split systems to evaporatives and the whole house ducted tailored to suit your needs. You can get in touch with Dylan on his social media, which of course is Instagram, his Facebook, both of them are linked in the description below, or you can call him directly on 0407 719 208 and tell him that Jake from the Black Ink Podcast sent you. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy the episode. This is Councillor Ben Andrew.
Do you make mugs?
I have made mugs in the past. They didn't... I've tried to do everything at least once.
So the problem is, these you buy from Kmart. I think it's like $8, $9.
Yeah. How am I meant to compete with that?
Yeah, how do you compete with that? And yeah, like you look at business and it's product, price, performance.
Right.
You know, 3 Ps. So you go, right, I can't beat them on price. The product I'm going to give them is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So the only thing I've got to work with is performance, which is, I guess, you know, your brand.
Yeah.
And if people are willing to pay that premium and they're getting the same mug
Yeah.
for a more expensive price, but then it's coming back on you, and I guess that brand loyalty that you have with consumers.
That speaks to the why, how, and what of business.
Yeah,
You
but
know.
the problem is when you're talking about a mug like that, the profit margin is so small.
Yeah, well, this is when you go, okay, is the product for marketing or is the product for fulfillment? You know what I mean? So someone buys a black ink shirt to they are gonna market because they're wearing something that has black ink on it. It's like a mobile banner for me, but at the same time, like they're gonna buy that from my point of view to support the business.
Yes.
Whereas the mug is like, if you use it, like if you're gonna put it on your desk and use it every day, and every time you take a sip or go to make a coffee, which is an addictive substance, so we're tying in a greater picture here. I'll sell it for the same thing, for the same amount it costs me, because I get to infiltrate your brain in a different way.
Yeah.
So then you go, okay, you know, the scrunchies that I made, you know, how am I going to sell them for? Usually, you know, you try and time something by 2 as to what it costs you. So if you make a mug, which say if I had to make 100 mugs, I couldn't make them any cheaper than say $3, $5, $6.
Yeah.
Sell them for 12. Compare them to 8. You're like, well, it's only $4, but it's like the percentage margin is fucking huge.
Yeah.
You know, you got an $8 mug or a $12 mug. You go, well, I'm going to take the $8 mug.
Yeah.
You know.
But I guess it also comes back to that return on investment, which is, you know, if you focus on the mug, are you missing out on something else that's going to give you a better return?
That's right.
For a labour-intensive product.
That's right.
With small margins that may or may not end up on people's tables.
Correct. And if I sell 100 mugs at cost, the marketing campaign that I can treat that as is, well, there's 100 potential customers that have me front of mind every day.
Yeah.
So it's when I go to sell them the t-shirt, the banner, the this, the that, you go, okay, well, I'm already in the vernacular of what their normal thoughts are.
Yeah.
So then I can go, sweet, this target audience is warm now instead of being completely cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a very similar thing last year with the calendar. So I paid, I got 50 calendars made and I got 6 sponsors on the calendars, which essentially paid for the calendars to be made.
Yeah.
Now I sold them to people who did want them, but in general, I gave them away with big orders.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I give you a calendar. If you don't have one for that year, by default, you're going to put mine up.
Yeah.
I put pictures on there that are all black ink relatable. And there's these sponsors there. It's like, you know, sponsored by, I don't know who that is. I know them. I see them every day. I know them. And then when I drive to the main street of town and I want to get my hair cut, well, I'm going to go to Blade Cartel because I've seen them peripherally every day. Yeah. And it's like this here, that calendar model was like, that's what really turned on this, like, okay, a product can be a marketing thing over a product, you know?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that's why events have events t-shirts.
Correct.
So whether you're doing a running event, dirt and dust, these are the shirts you use dirt and dust this year. You know, you put that, you make a nice shirt, something that's recognisable, you put a logo on it, and people go, oh, that's a nice shirt, and then it opens up that conversation, oh, what is dirt and dust?
Yeah.
And so people wear the hats and that, and you've got the stickers and the cars and the bags and all that paraphernalia.
Yeah.
And the reason that's important that we give them to competitors, and same with marathons and Ironman, the reason you wear the swag and get all the gear, and the reason they push it is because people go, I want to be like you.
Exactly.
So they want
the flex.
It is, yeah. They want a little bit of that pie, and you go, oh, I want that shirt. I better go do an Ironman.
How do you know you went to GTM if you didn't get a hoodie?
Yeah.
You know,
So,
it's one of those things. It's crazy, the festival mentality. I look at this as a merchant.
Yeah.
Right. So I go, okay, so you're gonna set aside, you got $150 for the ticket. Accommodation, $150, we're at $300. You're going to get a hoodie, no less than $80. You're at $380. You haven't bought drinks. You haven't got transport. You haven't got the crap that you buy the 10 minutes beforehand that you don't need. You haven't got the outfit. You haven't got the shoes. You know, it's probably $1,000 you spend each time, and 1/10 of it is on apparel that you'll never wear again. Yeah. What are we doing? You know. So from my point of view, I go, well, how do I get in bed with the people who organise these events? So then I can be the one who's creating all of these hoodies.
Well, you know, and you need to not be inside the event. You need to be outside the front gate. So when it gets cold and they're all running across again to Kmart, you can grab them and go, look, we're here. You'll be back inside 30 seconds. Give us $80.
Bang,
I'll
bang.
throw money at you.
Dude,
they run back inside.
You can tap and go, and I'll chuck it over the fence for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we had this 2 weekends ago. I had a situation where this stock here, actually to your right, I was like, I've got all this stock that isn't dead stock, but in 2 months' time, it's dead stock.
Yep.
We got winter goods. We got t-shirts that are, you know, they're warm. They were hot 2 months ago. They're warm now, and they're on the way to being cold. So what do? Well, I'm going to go to markets. Yeah. So I go, okay, what markets have we got this weekend? We've got, you know, nothing against any of these Jalora markets, Bunbury markets. Okay. The reality of a market is, on a Saturday morning, is standing there next to some dude you don't know who's asking you questions that don't really matter, don't add up to anything. Oh, hell, you are, oh, yeah, it's cool, I've got a daughter that, I don't care, right? And then heaps of people doing the walk past, not even looking at you. And then
Yeah, I
walk to
know
the
that
next
one.
thing.
You're kind of like, so, eye contact. No, it's just I'm being
exactly.
kind by perusing, but I'm really not interested. But
Correct.
I'm going to make you feel,
Right? So then I'm on the events page on Facebook and I see Base Invaders. And I'm like, oh my, this is so obvious because every time I go into town on a Friday and Saturday night, people walk up to me, Black Ink, Black Ink. I'm like, let's put the product in between me and that interaction.
Yeah.
So I set up at the top of the stairs at the Prince. So you walk up, you see me, and then you go into the event on the right. Now the first 2 hours maybe did $200. The following 3 hours I could not keep up because once they get that liquid courage and they come out like, oh, I seen the video, I seen this podcast, I seen this bit of content, I like this, cool, man. They're $50, they're $70. The socks are free if you get 3 t-shirts, and all of a sudden, just things are flying off because you've got a lubricated buyer. You've also got the fact that like the one thing that people identify me through, I now can synthesize that into a product for them, so they can then go, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Because everyone says, oh, I've been meaning to put in an order. We'll do it right now. I'll tell you what, I'll do one better. The shirts are right here. And then you go all of a sudden, bang, 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 off you go. Put the product in front of someone when they want to buy it and they're ready to buy it.
Yeah, alcohol's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
We had a auction recently, and I ran an auction at Dirt and Dust, and the pig on the spit was a little bit delayed.
Right.
And so the team came up and they said, oh, we'll do the auction now because dinner's going to be an hour late. And I was like, no, it's fine. Everyone's enjoying it. We're at a microbrewery or waiting to go.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting.
That's 2.5 more drinks.
Yeah, well, probably 4.5 the way they drink.
Yeah.
But anyway, by the time we had dinner, didn't obviously want them out of it.
Yeah.
I think I sold a blanket to someone for $500.
Amazing.
So.
Imagine being there the next morning.
I know. And because he forgot his wife's. No, sorry, it was his anniversary, and all he said to his wife for his anniversary is thumbs up. So I know, yeah. So I stitched him up with this blanket for $500, which was quite easy in the end.
Yeah.
But alcohol's got a lot to answer for. That's
yeah.
why I don't drink.
I obviously like all my previous collections, I've actually like made sure that there's alcohol within reach. The first one I did it in a bar. The second one I did next to a bar or a couple of doors up from a bar. But this was another level. Yeah. Like being inside the bar but not having anything to do with it. Just kind of like being adjacent to an event that's happening in there. It's exactly what you said. It's like standing outside the gate of GTM going like, who wants a hoodie? And it's freezing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting when you reflect on it that it requires alcohol for people to engage at some point.
Oh, yeah,
like that,
100%. Then it's funny, like I tend to live 90% of my life as the merchant and not the consumer. And then when I'm the consumer, like I had this moral... crossroads, not moral, just like I had a situation where I was like, I really wanted this thing online. It's expensive. It has no real purpose in my life other than it's really cool. And I was like, this thing's $380. I was like, man, $380 on a night out is the first quarter. Yeah. It's the first quarter. Go have fun. And
and you have to have that realism. I mean, the amount of money that people, another reason I don't drink, it's money, but the amount of money we spend on alcohol, or going out to eat and all these other things, and then you look when you want to have those, I guess, comfort purchases, and you go, and then you bring it back to reality. It's all right. If I don't go out this weekend, I'm going to be able to afford this, and something else.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
do you know how many Hot Wheels you can buy for $380?
A lot.
It'd be in the real. It's over 100. It's 100.
Is that like more than that wall?
Well, there's 500 and something on the wall. Yep. There's like another bit there, and then there's more in boxes. And that thing that I bought for $380 the other night was a collectible Hot Wheel. And then they released another one 12 hours later for 170, and I bought that too.
Okay.
But I've also been sober for a month, so I guess this is kind of the little bow on our conversation. It just goes to show, and that's literally the thing I had was I was like, it's not that I don't have the money, it's the fact that it's $380. Yeah. That's so much money. Yeah. But to check your bank account the morning after and you're adding it up and you're like, I spent $500 at Fitzy's and I don't remember drinking that much. Yeah. I also don't remember buying the drinks, but that's how easy it is. Because every time you're like, oh yeah, 20, 60, 40.
And I guess it's priorities and where you want your life to head as well. Yeah. I mean, if it's as long as it's not causing harm, you know, it's fine. But if you want to take your business to the next level
100%.
and you want to keep progressing and moving forward, obviously then you start not necessarily making sacrifices, but you start going, what's necessary to get me to the next level?
Yeah.
What can I do without? And if, you know, alcohol and partying 5 nights a week, it's dropped back 2 nights a week, and then that can help you get to the next level, and they're the sacrifices you make.
Yeah. I tell you what, I've done a lot of like retrospective analysis of like who I am as a person, because my sobriety speaks more to medicinal marijuana than it does drinking, and the amount of excuses I make for myself, and you have to, like, for me, I kind of actualize like understanding that, you know, addiction is your voice telling you something that isn't true. Yeah. And like, you think when you're a kid that addiction is like the devil talking to you, like, yeah, have another drink, have another cigarette. And it's not. It's your voice saying, like, why not have one more?
Yeah.
You know?
But I guess even though you look at your past, you've got to remember that everything that's been in your past is why you are who you are now.
Correct.
So, although you made mistakes, well, I don't know if you made mistakes, I made mistakes, but no, you know, we have a lot of mistakes and regrets in our past. They've all led us to where we are today.
Yeah,
all
of
brought us
course.
to this moment.
Of course.
And without those mistakes, we wouldn't be chatting here today.
I think the big thing I learned is I haven't had that sober. I tend to do a month sober at least once a year with this kind of lifestyle that I live. But I think one of the big things was like, you know, I turned 31 in a month, and I hadn't been a 30-year-old sober for that long. And I feel like this year I really, like, you've kind of seen everything that's happened for me this year. Started with the Citizen of the Year, and then talks about running for council, and the business has kind of blossomed in every different capacity I could have ever imagined. And I've really had a chance to, like, sit back and be like, oh, not only is there so much stuff that's happened, but I'm so abundant in opportunity right now that I'm putting the blinders onto by going out on a Saturday night. Like, that puts the blinders up until like Tuesday afternoon, because all I'm doing is surviving, you know, and waking up on a Monday morning for the 4th time in a row. And it's like, it's not like I'm just not hungover. I'm so sharp. Someone calls me on the phone and I turn it into business. And they were just calling to see how I am. You know, you walk down the street, you knock into someone, hey, you just wonder if I can, of course, let me take down some details. All of a sudden, whether it's coincidentally people are giving me more business, or whether it's me being more apt to the opportunity, or a combination of both, the growth in the past 30 days has been so obviously apparent to me that's like, okay, maybe we need to dial back on all of that sort of mentality and just kind of like really, like, I'm 31, just about 31. We've got a great opportunity to turn this cool thing into a scalable company. Man, I gotta take that seriously. I've spent like 8 years partying. That was cool.
But you got to remember that the partying and all that, even though it was good, was still part of the brand.
Yeah, 100%.
And so all of that was what's got you here now. Because possibly without some of that, you probably wouldn't have made the connections. And
75% of it.
Yeah, it opened up all those doors. But there is a time, I guess, when you have to go, well, what's the next step?
Yeah.
Am I just going to be, 3-day-a-week Jake, or am I going to be 7-day-a-week?
I feel like at the moment I'm 8-day-a-week Jake.
8-day-a-week Jake.
I'm doing some shit now that I never thought was possible. I tell you what, there is definitely a factor that, like, I've spoken about this with a few other people in business, and like I would say with a similar mentality to what I have. There is a certain trust that you have with someone you do business with. That trust is elevated when you party with them. You know, like, if I know this dude throws down and can sink, you know, whatever it is, 24 beers in a row and still hold a conversation, I trust him more, or I trust her more than the person who I see after 6 beers getting shark eyes. It's like, I know who you are when things turn bad. I know if there's a confrontation, you're not going to meet me in the middle. You're going to try and hold as much as you can. You know, and like the bloke who goes round for round going to the bar, like, I'll get the next round, you get the next round. It's like, sweet. You've got a good ebb and flow of how you deal with situations. And I can see that when the guard's down. So when the guard's up and it's a Wednesday afternoon and you've got a price dispute about a product that I offer, or the other way around, I can call you up and say, hey, Ben, what's up? And you'll say, oh, this is what's up. Here's why it's this expensive. Cool, that's all I needed to know. Instead of being like, no, you know, which we've all dealt with before as well. So there is definitely something to...
Yeah, and it's just different kind of networking. I was having a conversation with someone recently that the art of networking is dying for a lot of people. Now, I think, and more so probably my generation, I guess the the middle-aged people. I hate that term. Someone called me middle-aged recently, and I went, oh yeah.
Hell
yeah. But it seems to be reviving a little bit. You know, you got yourself, got the Reese Fiends, you got Rory, you got the guys over at Last Slice. There's a sort of up-and-coming guys who are probably more bolted around that 30-year age, and they seem to be reinventing networking and making it work for themselves,
right,
and creating connection again and bringing their community together. But I noticed that there's been a bit of a generational gap. So I reckon I don't see it and feel it as much, and the importance of it much, between, say, the late 30s and to late 40s. It seems to be missing.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, who knows? It's just the ebbs and flow of society. Because you look at where networking come from, and it's usually more business orientated.
Yep.
We're going through a real restructure that the mum and dad family businesses have all really died out. Yeah, they're still out there, and there's fantastic businesses out there.
Yep.
But you don't have your local hardware stores. You just have
there's no local fishing stores. There's
couple
no
of
local
giant Bunnings. Yeah, your local fishing stores. What we've got, one Whitley's out at Australians. Probably the only one I can think off the top of my head.
And all the rest have been like the past 18 months.
Yeah, but they were sort of gone away from that, and so there's not as much need for, I guess, that business networking. And when the business networking dies out, it just seems that all the other networking dies out. But network, it's that web that holds community together.
Right.
And it's knowing who you can call and who you can do this, and now with digitisation of friendships being online, interactions, the way people communicate is completely different.
Right.
And I'm a big, a big online user as well, and consumer.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit at fault, but networking, face-to-face networking, bringing people together in collaboration, and knowing who to ask, and building those relationships. So when you've got an idea or you've got a problem, you can just pick up the phone and someone's going to answer. Yeah. And we're going to resolve it.
I think
But you guys are bringing it back.
Yeah, so I think the gap there is there's been a change in comfortable atmosphere. I think there's three answers to the question I asked you, and I realised that as you were answering, because you were highlighting some interesting points. I think the big one that probably doesn't seem relatable but will make sense is the destruction of do they call it the nuclear family, or the normal family, where it's like you got mum, dad, 2.5 kids. Yeah. There's no mum and dad together anymore. There's no solid father figures in the household teaching, especially young men, how to communicate, how to be brave, and how to be, I say brave is probably not the right word, how to have a conversation, how to put my thoughts on the table and be like, that's how I feel. And if you don't like it, that's all good. And if you have a differing opinion, that's all good as well. I'll listen to you and you listen to me. I think that has fallen apart a little bit. I think obviously combine that with the digital conversation. People can write something, it doesn't look right, I'll delete it, write it again, it's too long, I'll delete it, it's too short, I'll put an emoji on there. Too much time to be able to edit what you're saying. Yeah,
it's not a natural conversation.
Right.
So then we all do it.
Yeah, and then you go to sit down in bloody Last Slice and someone says something and you're like, I'm just going to say nothing at all because I don't know, because I haven't practiced the skill and the art of conversation, right? I think also when you look at what people deem as comfortable these days, the one big thing that I go for, like I'm very specific about where I'll have coffee, where I'll go out for dinner, where I'll have meetings, because I need to be comfortable. Yeah. And I think what especially Casey and Jeremy have honed in on at Last Slice, and even the boys from Little Spencer, is comfortable spaces and choice within those comfortable spaces. So Little Spencer, I went there the other day, sat down inside, gets busy. We moved to the alfresco area, it gets busier. Yeah. So we end up sitting in the park. I was there for 45 minutes, I had 3 different experiences. Yeah. And they were all great. And it's like, as soon as I was like, they can hear my conversation. That's cool. You can go over here if you want. That's cool. You go over there if you want. That's really important. So I think people, the people that we've got here in Bunbury that are kind of these, I call them thought leaders, they're paying attention to what people really want. Yeah. They're not relying on these old models of like, this is how business works. This is how networking works. They're going, well, just forget all of the stuff. How do you feel when you sit in a place and it's too loud? Yeah. Feel like shit? Yeah. All right, let's do something about that. We'll make it a bit quieter over here, or we'll make the tables a bit more spaced out over there. And then what happens? You make it and they come. And if it's good, they stay. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. So I think the comfortability, the providing places where people can feel safe and comfortable in their conversations and not be listened to by, some dude over here that's sitting this far away from you. I think that's a big, big thing. But also as well, like, I think you do see the revolutions of thought leaders come through. And like the big thing I've had this year is meeting the last generation of thought leaders and seeing how, like, what they prioritize, how they communicate, what their key words are, and understanding how to communicate with them, but also going like, oh, there actually is a gap between how you execute and how I execute. Doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. It just means that it's changed and I'm aligning myself with that. But there's also a lot to learn when we cast back into that conversation and go, oh, like I was talking to, I'm probably not going to name anyone, but I was talking to one of the old brass about some things that happened in Bunbury, let's say 25, 30 years ago. And he goes, we get to a point where if the council didn't do something, we'd just get our machines to go do it.
Yeah.
We'd go make the change because we believe that it was going to be good for Bunbury. We have the capacity to do it, so why would we not?
Yeah.
We'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission and get knocked back over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're allowed to do that? Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
But people do. It causes headaches, but people do. But I think that's one of the most important things about empowering communities is when you strengthen communities, you empower community. Governments have to govern less.
Yep.
Which is really important. So when you empower community, I guess, to be able to make those decisions, make changes, support themselves, the government just really has to almost run the books in the end. If it's got the right policies and procedures in place and it nurtures a strong community and culture that look after each other, that support each other. And I mean, Bunbury's a fantastic place to live because you look at all the amazing events and groups, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you are, you can find your place in this city. And it's not easy to do in a lot of cities. We're so diverse in our little 8 kilometres by 8 kilometres. But there is so much support out there, and it really makes it a lot easier for local government, especially, and all governments, when you've got that strong sense of community and those strong bonds.
Yeah. Well, I think we've only just recently crossed over a threshold where, you go to Perth and you can like dress up as a cat and do whatever you want because you have amenity.
Yes.
Bunbury is still at a point where if you dress up as a cat, you're going to run into like half a dozen people that you went to school with.
Yeah.
And even if they don't tell you something, they're probably going to talk shit about you. Bunbury's still that size. We're also big enough that, and like I think this is a really interesting factor, is that as a roller skater, I can roller skate around the inlet by myself, rollerblade, and people don't look at me like I'm a weirdo. 10 years ago, that didn't happen. They're like, how's Jake the rollerblader? Cool rollerblades, but do a trick, do a backflip, Like I've heard that a million times. And now they're like, oh yeah, that's the roller skating group, I think that kind of represents a bigger fact where it's like, now if you're into, name the thing, you know what I mean? If you, like, I can't even think of it. And I was going to say like RC cars, but RC cars have been around in Bunbury for forever, But you can really pick a niche, and if it doesn't already exist, you can champion it, and people won't look sideways at you. It's like, yeah, we're the dragon boat crew, or we're the parasailing, whatever you want. There's like a thing. If it's not already there and you can be a part of it, it's like we're now in a population the size that start it, make a Facebook group, market it a little bit. The skating group has never been marketed, and it has 200 and something members. Like, that is such a great example of like Bunbury is primed to just really start, like, what isn't already existing can just be built on top of.
Yeah, and I think the skating group's a fantastic example, and I know we've discussed it before, but community isn't one thing. There's the community that you live in, there's your local neighbourhood community, there's the community you've created around skating. And so, for someone like me to come along, not the fittest person in the world, and definitely not going to be on skates, but I'll hop on a scooter and flog around. You go, right, Mondays and Thursday nights, I really look forward to ducking down, being able to catch up with you and Janine and all the other guys and have those conversations with people and just be out around Bunbury, celebrate Bunbury, and you've created, I guess, that magnet to bring people together. And, that's where I met the missus. Which is amazing from my point of view. Which is just amazing that it's just come out because you like skating. But that's why, again, we talk about strong community. You build those strong communities, it has ripple effects throughout the whole city, bigger and broader than you believe. Because you look at a couple of other people, they come, they may have had a tough day at work, but they come, they go, have a nice skate, get all the adrenaline through the body, and the system flushes out, and all the bad thoughts leave you, and you go home, you had some fresh air. You have better interactions with your loved ones at home.
Right.
You're a bit happier with your children. You have a good night's sleep because you've been out and about doing some exercise, which means you get up to go to work the next day and you're much more amenable, you're more productive. And so it's all these knock-on effects. You're a better person just because you went skating on Monday night.
Yeah.
So, and that's the same for all kinds of sports and hobbies and everything people are involved in.
Oh, and like now we go past Kambana Bay on Monday nights, all the volleyball's out
Oh, that
there.
was cool last night.
And now you're like, oh, you guys want to like pull up for half an hour and we'll see if we can do something here as well, you know, because that's the thing. Like, I feel like on Monday, like, don't get me wrong, like 50% of the time I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But the thing's bigger than me.
Yeah.
The thing is damn bigger than me. And 100% of the time when I have that feeling, I go home thinking, I'm so glad that I went. Even the times when I rock up, and it's funny actually, I'm not sure if I told you last week or the week before, on the Thursday night, there was 2 girls, they're in year 7 at BCC, and they come skating and they always do things at their pace.
Yeah.
So we'll be skating up there and those 2 would just be back there, just gossiping the whole time, just doing their thing. And I was like, I'm going to skate a lap of the inlet with these 2 year 7 girls. What do we have to talk about? You know, like, and do they just want me to do my own thing and they can skate by themselves? Like, I have no idea. And like, when I got there, I wasn't in the mood either. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is my Thursday night? The first half, sure, that was just me skating and everything. And then I'm like, you're all good? They're like, yeah, we're all good. And the second half, we start talking. And the stuff that I learnt about what these kids are going through in high school was rattling to begin with. But it was really cool that it's like, I now have this like knowledge of like what's going on, like what the experience is for these kids these days. And we're talking about some pretty rough stuff about bullying, suicide, self-harm, things like this, and just kind of seeing what their stance was.
So different these days, isn't it?
It is.
And I mean, they're a generation probably behind you. I'm a generation in front, and I think about my memories of high school and what we did. You know, it was still sex ed, and it was the old cat videos and those kind of things, and putting condoms on bananas. To what it's moved into today, and the things that the young people are exposed to, it's just crazy.
It is crazy.
And the conversations I have with like my niece and stuff, and I'm going, where do you know this? Another friend, her daughters must be 10. And some of the conversation I have, or she tells me about, you go, how does she know cognitively to ask these questions and have these conversations with you? It's just crazy. Where's that going to lead up to? You know, for us, we went to school. You went to school. You had the same teacher. You did your subjects left. Nowadays, you've got these specialised schools. You know, if you want to go down a certain career path, you go to Bunbury High. If you want to do this, you go to BCC. It's just it's so complex these days. And there seems to be more choice, and it is interesting about where that early freedom of choice will leave people later in life if they don't know how to follow.
Oh, what a wild social experiment we're running, and hoping, and just like, please work.
Yeah, because there's never really, if you look really throughout human history, there's always been leaders and followers. Yeah. And knowing how to follow is a very good trait, because obviously there's that sheep mentality.
Yeah, you fit into the groove, you understand what's expected.
Yeah, and you create order, and you stay away from chaos, and everyone sort of fits in their little silos. But it'll be interesting to see where we go in the future now that I guess people are, there's probably more leaders and more free thinkers out there, which isn't a bad thing, but it's going to be interesting to see where we go when certain sections of society and people start going into full-time work. It's like, you need to arrive now, you need to wear this uniform, you need to act to this, code of behaviour and all this. And when you add in now with the WSH Act, Work Safety Health, whichever way it is. Yeah. The psycho. Now you basically have to be psychosocial responsibility to businesses. So now, business owners, you've got to be aware of the psychosocial responsibilities of your business owners. You have to be proactive in, protecting people from sexual abuse and all these kind of things in the workplace. And it's changing so much now. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how the free thinkers and the people who are allowed to make so much choice, when they slot into a very mechanised and routine sort of
I think I understand if you summarise that, things are changing, right? And like when the Model T came out, everyone was going to be like, well, where are the horses going to go? And then I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing when light bulbs came out, they're like, well, what about the candle makers? And now the AI is coming out, they're like, what about the truck drivers? Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
But the one thing that was always, I guess, the leader and followers. If you go through all that human history, people always followed, I guess, somewhat of a similar path, whether it was because of religion, the society you moved in. But when we start, now we're nurturing a society of three things, and you can do this, and you can do anything you want, and that kind of stuff. It is going to be more interesting to see how people will slot in to routine, because you need routine. A business can't not open between 8 and 5. It has to open in those hours. You have to wear the uniform. You have to have your lunch break when you're told to have your lunch break, for the business to remain viable and to service the community. So there's going to be an interesting clash, I think, in the next couple of generations.
There'll be an interesting clash of beliefs meeting reality.
Yeah.
I remember I went to BCC and got kicked out, and then went to Newton Moore, and I did 6 months, and then went to Bunbury High. While I was at Newton Moore,
Bunbury High.
Yeah. That's where it all. Yeah. Well, that's where it crescendoed for me, actually, because I ended up becoming a professional speed skater and moving to Europe, all the rest. While I was at Newton Moore.
Really, I never knew that.
Yeah, I spent a year in Holland just fucking kicking ass, and then eventually quitting. But I threw this kid's shoe in the bin at Newton Moore. And like one thing I learned at Newton Moore is like basically what you can and can't get away with. And what you can't get away with is most things. Yeah. Because I threw this kid's shoe in the bin, he's like, get it out. And I was like, no. And he just socked me, Just dropped me like a bag of hot shit on the ground. Yeah. And then I realized like, oh, there are definitely consequences to being a smart ass. Yeah. And there's none of that in school anymore. There's none of that. It's all verbal, 20%, then 80% is online after hours. Yeah. And the only way you can retaliate now is telling a teacher, I'm not going to do that. Tell your parent, not going to do that. Retaliate online. Hit them where they hit me. And the problem is with that is it's all psychological. Yeah. It's all emotional. There's no rubber meat in the road. And I feel like there's a big problem there, because I think a distinction to be made in leaders, and I say this as a leader, I identify as a leader. I'm not trying to be a consumer, I'm trying to be a producer, right? The difference is execution. Yeah. The difference is, you got a great idea, do something. I'm 3 years into a great idea and it still kills me every day. Yeah. Fucking do something, show up, be the thing.
I think the one thing that gives me a lot of hope is that I guess that generation of leaders I see coming up at the moment. And it's great to see the chamber sort of, focusing, I guess, on young leaders, so on that under 40 group. And again, Reece Veen, I know he's running that for the chamber. And I mean, we went to that under 40s networking event. It was great. And I was surprised, I couldn't believe how many people, and you make some great contacts, you have those conversations, and you go, wow, where have you guys been? Why aren't you a lot more visible in the greater network? Like, you network well with each other, but it's like we need you to network with everybody. Yeah. And get out there, because it's good interaction. Those leaders who have been there and done it all, and now in their 60s and 70s and retired, if they're cut off from that, they don't see it, they don't understand what's happening. But if you can connect them to that, I think you give them a lot of pride to go, well, they started a lot of this. If you think about Bunbury in the 60s and 70s and where they've taken Bunbury, to now be able to bring them back and go, this is what the latest generation of leaders are doing. This is, you guys set the building blocks for it. You guys are building the skyscrapers on top of the foundations now. But I'd love to see that networking, bring everyone back together. There's great opportunities.
I think as someone who definitely, I hate the word networking, but I understand the importance that it has. Obviously there's kind of...
But that's all you do. All you do is network.
No, I build culture within community, which then a byproduct of that is having a network.
But it's still networking.
Right. So, and obviously networking is, you have all the dots and it's like connecting them as many ways as possible so that this person actually eventually ends up knowing that person by default through all the thing. Yeah. And I think I run a networking thing once a month, which is called Boys Club. I get a coffee van that comes here and I invite everyone. Yeah. Everyone. I got a list. There's 40 people on there. And the amount, and no one time does everyone come. Yeah. But every time you get a different group of blokes that only in the last 10 minutes do they go what do you do? Oh, I own a restaurant. What do you do? Oh, I've actually got a steel. And then you start going this is cool, because it's the old school networking is, well, we need an electrician on board, we need a plumber on board, we need a painter on board. That's not networking. People see through shit. People see through that so clearly now because they're so scared of being utilized as a thing that they have to offer, right? People are more focused on soft skills and hard skills now. So when you do this and you go, hey, it's just free coffee. It's just free coffee. Yeah. I want you to accidentally find out that you all own businesses because then you're going to trust each other. You've partied with them before you did business with them. Yeah. And that to me is like, you go, okay, well, where does that networking exist? That networking exists in a way that is unassuming, right? And that's when you see like the real power of like building that, because that's what you're trying to do with networking is meet them and then trust them and then do business with them. So if we can get people to trust each other, it's like you need to build these things by default, have these things happen and then meet by default and then start doing business.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the way networking has been done in the past, take Rotary, which is very old school, 100 and something years old. That's what it was. I mean, even though you went in with the intention, it was still by default. You put a group of people in the room together, 50 or 60 people, and over time, you couple of years, you sort of meet everybody and you get involved in their lives and they become sort of, this extended family, I guess. Yeah. So that, again, when you've got an idea, when you've got a problem, when you need somebody, you know who to call. Yeah. And you know what's happening out throughout all of Bunbury and all of society because, you've got your network, which is these people who've got their network, which is those people. Right. And, it's that... Bunbury's probably 2 degrees separation, I reckon, between every single person.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah. It was like the other day. I met somebody, and I was having a chat to them, and they work at one of the mobile phone places. Right. My auntie came up to me and she goes, I said, I'll go look for the guy that looks like me with a little bit longer beard. Right. And just tell him Ben sent you and da da da. And I only just had a conversation, I work here, cool. That's it. And that's all it was. Yeah. It was like, got him in my brain. I said, go see Rich. He'll sort you out. And he did. Yeah. Because I had a conversation with somebody. And we sort of, traded the ideas, this and that. And then the next time I needed somebody who needed a mobile phone, I was like, go see this guy here. For
sure. And that's how it happens, I feel like I'm in an advantageous position, Black Ink being a coffee van in its infancy. Yeah. I had a network by default. It's like I knew someone from every trade. And then I speak with young blokes my age, and I say young blokes 30 and under that are either just starting or they're in the first 12 months, and they're I want to build my network, It's like, honestly, if you want to build your network and you don't want to inject yourself into a Rotary or what's the thing that meets on Tuesday mornings? BNI or something along, if you want to build honestly, just go, one day a week, you set 4 hours in the morning from 7 a.m. until 11 a.m., go and buy 2 coffees at a time and walk into businesses. Yeah. Who's the owner? Can I sit down? What do you do? What's the problems that you have to solve here? What's your best product? Where do you make all your money? Can I help you in any way? Can you help me in any way? And even if you just walk out of there just knowing that Richie does phones, sweet, I got a phone guy. Yeah. Go buy another 2 coffees. Make it a hot chocolate for you, otherwise by lunchtime you're going to be fucking railed. But point being, if you do that for a month, you will have a network. Yeah. You'll have 20 new names in your Rolodex that now you need your roof painted. I know Leighton. Yeah. You need your car tyres. I got Mick. I need shit printed. I'll go see Shane. Yeah. And it's it's so people. I feel like the networking idea is almost this mountain that people look at where I've got to meet 20 people at once. Yeah. You don't.
No, but again, I think that skill's been lost. I feel that a lot of people in my generation, I didn't see it as much. And I look at people, and we still have friends in Facebook because, again, Facebook's how you ended up in network. And Facebook's a great networker. I mean, there's people that for some reason hop on your Facebook or through your mutual friends and this or that, and someone say, I need something or other. And you go, actually, I've seen such and such on my Facebook page and message them, hey, it's Ben here, never met, but can you help with that? Bang, connect 2 people. Yep, cool, no worries, go
done,
away.
Yeah.
So I get, it still works, but I guess it's that one-on-one networking, I think, is still king. Yeah, for sure. You said just before, that thing is a skill. Yeah. How do you get better at skills? Practice. 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 Dude, I have fucking 20 phone calls a day and I still don't like the way they end. I'm still honing that particular skill in. But one day,
I'll get like 10 in a row that end just perfectly. Oh, yep, thanks for your time. I swear, catch you later, bye, hang up, the timing's right, no one feels a little bit awkward, whatever. And I've been doing that for years.
Well, tell me, it'd be interesting to see if you didn't have the coffee van, if you would be the person you are today.
Yeah, no, because I most likely would have become a truck driver earlier, and I would just be depressed and pent up and angry that the world owes me something, which is what I see in a lot of people, like, I think I've got to a point now where people have almost alienated me as this like dude who, I used to be the guy who was like on his way, and like in a certain frame now I'm kind of like already there to some people. And in a way I feel that, because now I told you I identify as a leader. I don't identify as someone new in business. Like, I'm in business. I've been surviving. I'm good. Like, I'm still struggling, but I'm good. I'm going to keep doing this until I die.
Yeah.
If this fails, I'll do some other shit and I'll get good at that. And I think when I see people, especially like other blokes my age that are just doing that thing that they've done for 10 years now, it's like, I get it. Your life is a life of silent desperation. You fucking hate everything. You don't want to admit it to yourself, and it's a very subconscious peripheral thing to you, but that's a reality of what's going on. And because of that, you can't have a positive outlook on things. You can't possibly have a positive perception of something that is actually good that's in front of you. You don't even like your missus anymore. You don't even like the good parts about your dog. You just see the holes that they dig in the grass. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what happens when you don't be uncomfortable for a certain period of time and then find that comfort in discomfort. That just manifests over and over and over until it's a ball of negativity that you forget you're in the center of and you can't get yourself out of it anymore. So yeah, if I didn't have that coffee van that forced me to be uncomfortable 100 times a day, every day of the week until lunchtime.
Well, it forced you to have conversations, didn't it?
Right.
And then those conversations turned into repeat customers, who then that was the
foundation.
the birthplace of your network.
Correct.
Who then, by the time you went out and you met shop owners and you started having your regular spots come to, and all of a sudden your network grew organically.
Yeah.
And it gave you those skills to have those one-on-one conversations, and while you're waiting for the milk to froth, it's like, oh, how are you today, what you been up to, how's business, all these kind of little micro conversations, which then help shape you into the mega network that you are.
I think that was a big thing. I always said, I don't sell coffee, I sell a conversation with a free coffee on the side. Yeah. And that's like, you start identifying yourself through that, and then subconsciously you start shaping the monster that shows up as this like, oh, well, smile at them. Smile at them. First thing, we got them on our side. Sweet. Now, what are they doing? How are you? Yeah, bloody oath. What's their language? Do they respond to swearing? Do they respond to conservative conversation? Do they respond to silence? Do they respond to you letting them speak first? Then you get all of these skills, and now I see it. I see people watching me have, like, my missus says it all the time. She's like, it's annoying to watch you have conversations because it's like you control the whole thing. Yes. Yeah. It's like, yeah, fucking oath.
Well, yeah, you know where you want to go.
I've done the apprenticeship,
You know the interaction you got, and you know what the return on the investment is that you want to have from that conversation. So,
right. Yeah. Now let's talk about Bunbury. Bunbury has this thing in general that when you speak to people, and especially if you go on forums about Bunbury on Facebook, people think that Bunbury's not that great. People have this, oh, Bunbury's shit, the council don't do anything, we used to have this great jetty, and we used to have this great fucking, fill in the blank. We used to have all these great things, and now Bunbury's this, like, hellhole. Yeah. Where do you think, like, my honest opinion is, Bunbury fucking slaps. It's so good. So where do you think this opinion might come from?
Oh, but the opinion's just social media.
Right.
And I think there lies the problem. Social media as a platform just allows, I guess, people who see things in a certain way and those squeaky wheels to have a voice. If you didn't have social media, you wouldn't be hearing about these problems. Bunbury is a great place to live. It's the centre of the southwest, basically. Yeah. Massive opportunities for jobs, employment, economic development, tourism. But I think people misunderstand the place of, I guess, local government in the grand scheme of things, which doesn't help. And, you talk about the old timber jetty, very unfortunate that we lost that. Yep. But as you know, because we skate up and down the Jetty Road, you've got a fantastic new facility there, which is just as good. In some ways.
Well, from my point of view, we couldn't skate on the old jetty.
No. No. Well,
obviously that's a biased opinion, but it's like, as a resident of Bunbury who pays taxes, it's like, that's actually kind of really cool.
Yeah.
Now they put tourists along there as well.
Yeah, it's a wonderful activated space. There's toilets. There'll be opportunity for fishing once the next steps happen. And they talk about some of it, but you look at Coolanbiddy Woola, the new skate park.
Crazy.
Just won best new park in Australia for, I think it was over $5 million. So, you know, that's Australia-wide recognised as one of the best facilities that's been built in our country.
Right.
You look at our amazing rec centre. You know, it's only a 50-metre pool in the southwest.
Yeah.
Fantastic sporting ovals. You know, we're building the new pavilion over at Hands Oval, which will host all the grand finals and offer up more opportunities. We've got A-grade soccer pitch. You've got everything.
Yeah.
The problem is I think we've got to learn how to, I guess, connect a little bit better with majority of the population.
Okay.
And I think sometimes everyone's so focused on their day-to-day lives, and if you probably didn't get that award, you'd probably be less focused on what local government's doing anyway, I'm assuming. Like, it really opened your eyes and you started coming.
Yeah, 100%.
And you understood the mechanism and the place and where it lives. Majority of people, they get up, they've got families, they feed the kids, get the kids to school, they go to work at 8 till 5. They come home, they go to sports, they go to parents for dinner. They have that normal life where local government doesn't fit into that. The roads are there, their rubbish is getting picked up, the playgrounds are getting mowed, we're building the nice new facilities. So they really have got there's not a need for the majority of the population to really be focused on what local government's doing, because it always works well. If you go onto some of the chats in Bustleton, and people are saying the same things. You look in Perth, they say the same things. Over east, you've always got those squeaky wheels. Yeah. But I guess it's what we need to do is, I guess, empower the community and create those, social media champions for the city to go, hey, no, that's not right. You look at what Kyra does from the South Development Commission. You know, she'll get in there and she'll have a conversation with people. It's like, why do you think that way? Oh, this is well, that's not quite right. You've got X to Z, Y. Why you're wrong, basically.
Yeah, I think footnote to that person needs to be employed by the city of Bunbury and paid $100,000 a year, because the emotional tax that has on you is insane.
Oh, it is.
To see someone like say something aggressive and it's like, bro, do you know what nights council meetings are held on? Yeah. Because if you don't, shut the fuck up.
Well, I think it was very unfortunate. We only saw about 26% of the population vote. I know we had the referendum at the same time, which muddied the waters a little bit, and you probably had a bit of voter fatigue. But majority of people seem to be okay. Very rarely, and we have conversations with people all the time about small issues, and we've got some areas identified, and we're trying to work through them. Unfortunately, local government, there's a lot of boxes tick before something happens. And you've got a 10-year financial plan and a 4-year corporate business plan, so it's boring for most people, but you've kind of got your goals and everything set up, and this is where the money's going to go over the next 4 years. These are the projects we're going to go, these are the roads, these are the footpaths. There's not a lot of money to, I guess, vary it. Yeah. So it's a very structured, local government's very structured, I guess, in that way. I get messages, people complaining about hospitals, and it's like, that's a state government issue. It's like, let me advocate for you, let me go, send an email to Minister Punch if we have to, or go see this person, or go see that person. Yep. But it's not a local government issue. So I guess there's an apathy and misunderstanding and those things that come into it. But Bunbury's, everything you need within Bunbury is with 10 minutes. Yeah. And if you don't have it, you can go up to Perth, be there an hour and 45 basically at the airport. Well, from where I live in the Glen. So. Yeah. And one of you look at the latest community survey that's just been done. You can pick up the results from that online, and it shows us where our strengths are, shows us where our weaknesses are. And I think communication, we do need to work on that a little bit. Yep. And focus a little bit more energy on the CBD. People want to see the CBD. Supported a little bit more. Yep. So we've got plans and things in place to look at something like that. Again, the priority for community 2 years ago was community safety. We just endorsed our community safety plan last week to start looking at and addressing some of those issues around why people feel unsafe. Interesting. But again, if you look at WA wide, we're usually always above average in a lot of these things, which is good.
Yeah.
But people always say the same thing about where they live. And you always get these champions.
Yeah.
You get the silent majority who are just happy, and you get the naysayers.
I think one thing you've really highlighted a few different ways is the fact that, unfortunately, what Facebook did, well, in a way, it's unfortunate. Facebook gave everyone a microphone. You know, so you've got everyone from the person who can't leave their bedroom eating fucking KFC that's been delivered to them, saying, well, I think, all the way to the person who, like me, who sees like half a dozen comments on, what's a Bunbury page that everyone comments on? Even Ask It, Answer It. And it's just like, even Kerry Park residents, I remove myself from it because I don't have the bandwidth to put up with your stupidity, essentially. And ignorance of information that is readily available from the same Google search you can put in instead of asking that question and giving it a negative connotation at the end of it.
I think one of the things that I have to focus on is how do we support those people and engage them, and I guess try and maybe assist them in seeing it in a different light.
Right.
And I think that's where it comes back to strong communities, because you can look at these comments and you can just go, oh, that's not right, and you move on. Or you can look at those comments and engage them and have a conversation and try and find out the root cause as a community member, and go, all right, well, this is possibly why this is this, and you have that freedom, and hopefully there's enough respect to walk away.
Yep.
And maybe they change their mind. Maybe you realise that there is an actual problem and they are right on something, and how do we fix that, and how do we do that? And again, out of that, by doing that and working, I guess, on that micro community level, you strengthen the community.
100%.
It's a hard slog when you're doing one by one, but everyone's voice is important to be heard. It's unfortunate that a lot of people use social media to directly attack, make false and misleading statements. That's very unfortunate, and you don't like seeing that very much.
Yep.
It's how do we help and have those conversations? And there's a few people out there that do it, and we do it, and you engage, and you go, why is it? Why did you say that about this, and what is the problem, and can we have a coffee?
Yep.
Or go for a walk and go have a look, and we'll explain why it is, and it may be something that from a local government we can fix, and maybe something as a private citizen we can fix.
I think there's two things that come to mind there. If we kind of put the things that I said before and connect it with what you're saying right now, the bloke who lives a silent life of desperation, who actually doesn't like what he does for work and doesn't like his home life and is in too much debt and doesn't like the neighbour, his car broke down, and then on the way into his house, he trips over something and takes it out on some other unrelated thing on Facebook, right? Yeah. So when you put those two together, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I empathise for that person, but at the same time...
And all we need to do is get a pair of roller skates on them and get them down to skating.
Let's go.
And go for a skate.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That will help a lot. And also, if it's not skating, grab a couple of bricks in your yard and curl them walking around listening to a podcast. Do some bodyweight squats. Drink some fucking water. Stop scrolling before you go to bed. Stop drinking alcohol. Stop smoking cigarettes just for a day and just see what happens.
And I think it's really hard for people to find that happy place. And I know, we all struggle. We all have our struggles. I mean, I have my struggles. Life's it's not meant to be easy. We often think it is because we're fed, I guess, false ideology through Hollywood. That it's always going to be right and the frog's always going to turn into the princess, yada yada yada. But in reality, that's not the way it is. It just can't happen. 1 minute have no problems with my my car. Next minute, alternate and start.
Yeah, you had a string, eh?
Oh, yeah, and now they're talking gearbox and it's back at the mechanics the end of the day.
Just let me buy a new bloody van.
So, you go, oh, God, why is this happening now? And, it's like, right, money's just going out the door and, bank account's getting closer and closer to zero. And you go, all right, let's not stress. Let's go focus. Let's go for a skate. Let's watch some YouTube. Let's go do something I'm happy about. Spend time with family, spend time with the girlfriend, and just try and keep that positive energy, have that conversation, let it out, don't internalize the problems.
Yeah, and let it manifest into something else.
Yeah, and so, I guess it's trying to be brave enough to have those conversations and find spaces where you're comfortable enough to communicate that.
And practice those conversations. Yeah. That's a
But
big deal.
there's so many people in this world that are like you described, but then there's so many other people as well who, I guess, are struggling financially at the moment. There's a lot of financial stress out there. Might have young kids, but have that solid foundational relationship. But they just get up every day. They find that peace. They keep moving forward, and so it can be done.
100%.
And
100%.
So, it's just you got to make sure we celebrate those who do achieve.
Yep. And
support those who need support so they can achieve.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a mentality of now that the skating thing's up and running, it's a good example of if you are having a bad day and you own a skateboard or a push bike or rollerblades or skates and it's a Thursday, well, I know a way I can help your day. I think one part to you always try and put yourself in the shoes of someone like that. And, I'm in a position now where I fucking cry most days because I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I made something that I'm really proud of and I keep pushing. I see this thing in the future that's great. But then I remember when I was a truck driver and the alarm goes off at 3:30 in the morning, you're like, what am I fucking doing?
Yeah. But you know what? There's some people who love that.
Yeah, I know. I kidded myself that I love that too.
Yeah. No, but there are some people who genuinely that's what they are. They might have identity crisis when they retire down the track, but some people just love. They get up, they go to work. That's their passion.
Yeah.
And that's good. There's other people who, I work 9 to 5. Well, actually, I've never really worked 9 to 5 because I was always doing shift work. But now as a counsellor, for the majority of my focus and full-time work is as a counsellor.
Yeah.
It's having those conversations, community, following up things. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of emails, there's a lot of meetings. Today will be meetings from 1 o'clock through till probably 7:30. Literally, meetings.
Yeah, that's a hard flog, eh?
So and it's diverse. There's everything. It's there's optimization plans. There's long-term financial plan, corporate business plan, integration rates, and it's all these things. But I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people couldn't think of anything. A lot of people couldn't think of anything worse. But I thoroughly, enjoy the knowledge coming in, being able to be a part of making those decisions, hopefully drive better outcomes, make Bunbury brighter.
Yeah.
And I think that's philosophy of what many of us are trying to do. Is just again how do we make Bunbury brighter?
Yeah.
It's not saying it's dark because it's already bright, but how do we make it brighter? How do we continue to build on the foundation that we've got? Where can we take Bunbury? And Bunbury's turns, we've got the threat of the Outer Ring Road and what that's going to do for Bunbury. But then people talk about Mandurah. Mandurah keeps winning the Tourism Award of the Year.
Yeah. And you have to actually do a major turn off to get there.
Yeah, and you have to, and it's out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's one of the jewels in WA State Crown. You look at the opportunities now with the Ocean Pool. If that comes ahead, council is committed now to supporting the building of a new art gallery, which would be a state-of-the-art gallery. This gallery now, through support through some local philanthropic people, could possibly house the largest West Australian art collection in the world.
Wow.
And so that's the dream, and that's why we're looking at doing this. You add into that, again, we spoke about earlier, the new sporting facilities that are coming on board, the expansion that's happening over at the hospital is going to create new jobs. The Turf Club has just finished there. Massive new expansion, which is going to create a 365-day-a-year track, one of only a few in Australia.
Yeah.
There's so much happening in Bunbury, and that's just in the 8 kilometres by 8 kilometres.
Yeah.
Bunbury's only 56 square kilometres.
You know what? It blows my mind every time I see it is because I quite often will Google Bunbury and things related to Bunbury. Do you know what the biggest attraction on Google in Bunbury is? It's the Bunbury Farmers Market.
Oh yeah.
It's a business.
Yeah.
It's not even it's a place where you are going to spend money.
Yeah.
It's not this beautiful. It's not like the lighthouse. It's not fill in the blank, the lookout tower or the beautiful oceans or the estuary or whatever it might be. It's literally a place to buy fruit and veg.
Yeah.
That to me is such a from my point of view as a merchant, is like, you know, one place that like I can't afford, I haven't been able to afford to buy stuff in there, but every time I visit Perth, I always go past Street X, because it's just like there's an aura about it that impresses me so much, that this dude who I relate to, he's just a guy, made this brand that people resonate with so much. It's like, I just want to see what the store looks like, you know? So I see that the Bunbury Farmers Market being like the #1 thing to do in Bunbury, like before the Dolphin Discovery Centre, where you can see fucking dolphins real life and swim with them, which is a life-changing experience. So we go buy apples and like fresh farm produce, amazing. Well, Black Ink could be top 5, you know? And more importantly is when that goes Last Slice, Little Spencer, you know, fill in the blank of these people we were talking about before, and they're the reasons you go, sweet, we've got these massive, I don't know what the categorizing word is when you go, like, we've got the Southwest Sports Centre, we've got the, which obviously includes, you know, soccer, basketball, hockey, this, that, and the other, you know, all those kind of like massive institutions within you then have these businesses that have such a like almost cult following of people. It's like, oh, you don't know what Black Ink is? Like, what do they do? Like, I don't know, but you just, if you know, you know. You know, that sort of potential for growth in Bunbury is so exciting for me. It's like, what do you want to do? Do fucking anything and just stick with it, and Bunbury is a place that you can make it grow. Yeah, but I always like Bunbury. Bunbury's a great place because it's big enough that you can be anything and do anything. Right. But it's also small enough that you're not going to be lost in the weeds. So you try and get in Perth. There's a lot of, I guess, there's a lot of noise. Yeah, there's a lot of saturation. There's a lot of noise around you, and you really have to be, you know, massive and really work hard and have that huge following. Yeah. Whereas in Bunbury, you can become as important as a person in Perth, but you don't need to work as hard. Yeah. Because Bunbury's still small enough, and when I say Bunbury, I mean the Bunbury geographic region, 130,000 people, still small enough that you can be recognised by 130,000 people instantly. 100%. Yeah. I have 4,500 followers on Instagram. Going out on a Friday and Saturday night, you'd think I'm a celebrity. Yeah. Everyone knows me. Yeah. I'm not saying to brag, I'm saying it because it's like, as a stat, it blows my mind that like, I feel like I'm a micro Instagram influencer and I have 4,000 followers. Yeah. And as you move forward, that's just going to continue to grow. And as your brand explodes, because it'll reach that catalyst sooner or later where it just goes over that tipping point and it just explodes and it goes out. I've like buttoned off, like I would say I probably have posted maybe between 10 and 15% of what I usually post in the past 6 weeks. And I've gained not gained followers, I've gained the amount of followers that I usually get on average per month. Yeah. That's increased by posting less. Yeah. Which is like, I mean, that bit of data to me is just like, what are people following me for? Yeah. You know? And like, I found that event that I was talking about, one of the things that I heard the most was, I want to support you, what have you got? Yeah. So they're not coming to me for the what, they're coming to me for the why. Yeah. They believe in this thing that's greater than just a t-shirt or just a mug or just a whatever. Which, you've created that community again around it. And people want to be a part of that. Yeah. Because otherwise they feel like they're missing out on something. Yeah, so They want to fly the flag themselves. They want to be a part of this they want to hop on the gravy train and be whatever part of it they can be. And if that just means ordering 10 shirts off you, and then people will come into their shop and they go, oh, they're cool shirts. Oh, yes, from Black Ink, you know. People go, oh, Black Ink, Jake, and so, but they've got a little bit of buy-in, which is really important. It's interesting because, like, from my point of view, as I said before, like, what is Black Ink? I still don't know. Yeah. I'm still letting it just be this. In fact, I've actually taken the majority of what I do cash flow wise, and I've put that over here and called that Outfit Co. So that I can keep Black Ink as the artistic endeavor. Yeah. So I can continue. Like the other day, we made custom mud flaps. Yeah. Like, how cool is that? I'm sitting here with a drill, drilling mud flaps and attaching plates, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Yep. What am I doing right now? And you deliver them to the customer, and they're like, these are sick. Like, I'm so happy with how these turned out. And it's like, now this whole new realm of like custom mud flaps or custom cutting stainless steel plates. What can you do with that? Where can we fit them? And then you start going like, oh, making clothes is really cool. Yeah. I've created a system where I've got someone who organizes, who handles sales, production and delivery. So I really like, that just makes me money now. And now it's like, okay, I want to get into mud flaps for 6 weeks. I want to get into custom X for 6 weeks, custom Y for 6 weeks. And now I can do that. Yeah. So I think the cool thing about Black Ink is while everyone has organically kind of jumped on board, or the people who have jumped on board, it's like still allowed me to just be creative. Yeah. Continue that. And I think that's where you want to be, don't you? No walls.
Yeah.
There can't be walls.
Yeah.
No ceiling and no walls.
Well, that's why you employ people to be in the walls.
Yeah.
And then you do what you need to do.
Yeah. I've had to learn a lot in the past 6 weeks. Getting my first full-time employee, it's like giving them the job and just saying, there you go.
Yeah.
You're like, here's how I do it, there you go. And let them fuck up half a dozen times and wear that cost and be like, yeah, cool, don't do it again.
Yeah.
You've emotionally learned from it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And not being like, here's how we do it.
Yeah.
See, here's how we do it, and doing it for them. Like, that's how I organically want to do.
Systems run the business and people run the systems.
That's right, instead of me running fucking everything, you know? But yeah, are you right for time? What time are you doing stuff?
I've got to go shortly.
Right. Do you want to wrap so you're not stressed?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. If people want to, obviously we didn't address it at all, but you're a councillor of Bunbury, city councillor. If people do want to speak to you directly about maybe something that they're concerned about or something that they're happy about or anything in between, where can they find you?
I'm sure you can post the email address in the comments below. I've seen that done on YouTube before.
Look in the comments.
Yeah, look in the comments below for those who are watching it. Look, more than happy for people to reach out. They can find all the council numbers on the City of Bunbury website at bunbury.wa.gov.au.
Yeah.
Otherwise, more than happy for people to phone me directly.
Sweet.
Or just text me and I'll get back to you as soon as you can.
Cool.
0408 576 203.
Which is also in the comments below.
Which is also in the comments below. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Yes. And if you like notifications, make sure you click the little bell. I watch a lot of YouTube.
You're well trained. I like this.
So, it's... look, I'm a councillor because I like, again, trying to support community. Mm-hmm. I was thinking the other day, I've been 39, I've been involved in community for 30 years. Primary school used to organise Clean Up Australia Day events and multiple clean-up days, when it's like 8, 9, 10, those kind of things. Yeah. And student councillor, and then, you're part of Scouts and all those things, and Air Cadets, and then when I was at higher school, involved in youth leadership and all these things, and then projects. So it's just continually built up over the years that I've always just been involved in community. So running Relay for Life, been involved in Rotary for about 15 years, sporting groups and community clubs and all of this kind of stuff, is because the more we can empower and strengthen organisations like that, the better Bunbury is. Yeah. Relay for Life is this weekend, and it's probably one of the greatest examples I can think about strong communities. So Relay for Life happens once a year. We empower people to go out and fundraise for the County Council of Western Australia, and then we put on really the celebration of 12 months of hard work. Yeah. So a group of community members who are all volunteers, who organise the event, who meet once or twice a month all year out and use all their networks, put on a show where we bring 1,000 odd people together. And those 1,000 people will sleep overnight and spend the night together. Yeah. They'll walk around a track carrying the baton, flying the flag for cancer research, for treatment and all these kind of things. But while they're doing that, they're talking to their neighbours who they never talk to. Yeah, right. They're having conversations. The kids are getting out there and they're playing tug of war. They're not on their devices.
Having organic...
So for 24 hours, you're bringing all these people together and they're meeting and they're having talks and they're laughter and we're having fun. And then what happens at night time? For those who do sleep, dads and daughters will sleep out under the stars in a tent. Yeah. And it might be the only experience that daughter has all year of camping overnight with her dad. Yeah. And those bonds and the things that happen when she has those experiences, the bonds she creates with dad at that point, can help influence her throughout her life. So when she becomes 16 and 17, because of the strength and the love and the support she's had down here, when she's going to a party and someone offers her MDMA or something, she goes, well, no, because Dad would be disappointed in me because she's had that strong connection back here at Relay. Yeah. And then it's all packed up and it's over. But everyone goes back to their business. I spoke about earlier. Everyone goes back to their businesses. They go back to their home lives. Everyone's happy. They're a little bit tired. Yeah. But they've just
new wealth of experience.
They've just accomplished something. They've made new connections. They're full of adrenaline, they're full of passion, they're full of good spirit. Yeah. And then in some small ways that filters out to the entire region. Yeah, yeah. So when, you know, people get to work on Monday, or they talk about, oh, I went to Relay for Life, we did this for those companies who put in a team. They've created much stronger bonds, had a great weekend of team networking. People have had a conversation. They know such and such are struggling a little bit more because of this. I never knew that because, you know, it's very singular conversations at work.
Yep.
So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to look after that person at work for the next couple of weeks and just check in from time to time. And Bunbury's better for it. And we've got a stronger Bunbury.
Yeah.
And that means that there's less strain on mental health services. There's less need, hopefully, for police because people are happier, less... You know, hopefully there's a little bit less violence out there. Hopefully people use a little less recreational drugs. And through the fundraising and the private investment in cancer research and support services, like Dot's Place, we mean government's having to invest less in cancer support. So hopefully we get to a point of a cancer-free society, all because we had one event.
Yeah. So, and then you can imagine if you had 2 events or 3 events or 4 events a year.
And then, and then you go, you know, that's just Relay for Life.
Yeah.
And then you think about all these other amazing events, all the football clubs, the soccer clubs, I mean, basketball association, netball, there's sewing groups, there's a felting group, there's a felting expedition coming up at Sterling Art Centre.
Right.
And so you just got all these things you don't know about, but there's like, it's always happening.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. And that's why I'm a councillor, is just to continue to support and drive policy and direction around those sorts of supporting community and building strong communities. So then hopefully in the end, council has to do less.
Yeah, well, it's awesome to see such passion in the position that you're in, because I think it really, like, it calls for that. Yeah. I think from the experience that I've had, which is obviously not very much, but still it is some experience, I think there's definitely a concern when I observe kind of the conversation, how the conversation kind of comes about in the chambers with council people, and you kind of think like, this isn't about Bunbury, this is about you. You know, and like I think that's dangerous, because like I'm 100% for Bunbury. I care about Bunbury. At the end of the day, like I'm going to have my kids here. I'm going to be excited to raise my kids here, and I want to point to them in 20 years' time and just point things out and be like, I was a part of that, and I was a part of this, and like how cool is that thing? I know the person who built that and the person who started this. I remember when that started, and like the greater picture is like, sure, it is about you outside the chambers, but in the chambers it's about Bunbury, and I think you're a really strong reflection of that. And you can tell by the way you talk about it right now. No,
and she's Bunbury. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
100%, I agree with you. I think that's our closing statement right there.
That's it.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Ben.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. And everyone, do the thing, like and subscribe. Be good to your mum, because we're fucking out. You!